leaders or blah blah blah. So that doesn't really make a good headline. Concreteness makes a good headline. Just talk about what you do, because headline is not really a good place to pitch. It's a place to get the visitor interested by telling him that this is what he wants and this product is going to solve his pain point. And also, this goes without saying, keep it short, don't make it long. And remember that this is impossible. I just read through this. Nobody is going to say that, yes, I will spend 10 minutes on your website just to figure out what I am selling. It's a job of site to convince the visitor in first 5 seconds that the solution it is offering is relevant and not really trivial. Because Google will give you hundreds of search results by default, and all websites will claim that they will solve this. But you need to tell that I'm going to solve this particular pain point and this is relevant to you. So as I said, headline is not a place to pitch your product, but rather headline is a place to tell that this product is going to solve your pain point. So it's informational, realistic. Yeah. This is a bad example. This is a site called Odesk. If you see their headline says that guaranteed work, guaranteed payment. Now just imagine if you're on the site, you're trying to figure out what this site does. Do you really understand what this means? Guaranteed work, guaranteed payment. And also the sub headline just right next to the Odesk, it says changing how the world works. So this is the kind of fuzzy stuff that I'm recommending to avoid. Don't write stuff that your people won't understand what the site does. It's all fluff. Also see that they have multiple call to actions. They want you to search contractors, they want you to post a job, and they want you to create an account. So what are you going to do amongst these three? You don't know. You'll probably hit the back button. The next example. This is a really good example of a competitor site, Elance. You can see their headline, it says hire online workers to get the job done. So you know that this is a site where I can hire people to get my different kinds of small tasks done, maybe programming, design or writing tasks. And also this sub-headline is really good, which says that thousands of businesses use Elance every day to hire and manage online instead of on-site. So it tells you there's an outsourcing site, you can hire people from there. It doesn't say that we are changing the world or blah blah blah. And also it has a really good point of having only single one call to action, which is get started. So you come on the site, you'll read the headline, you'll get convinced, you'll hit the get started button, and then is where engagement started. Once you have clicked on a button, you have already committed your time. So now it's much more unlikely that you'll hit the back button, because you have invested your time and effort into the site, engaged with it. So you are going to spend at least 2 or 3 more minutes in order to see whether this is for me. But if on the home page or if on the page you land on, you don't figure out what you are doing, you will simply go to some other site via another Google search. You won't spend 10 minutes figuring out what it talks about. Next thing. And there's a fifth tip I have which talks about social proof. As Arun said, social proof is really important. And what I mean about social proof really tells a visitor that you are not a fly-by-night operation, or you are not the first, or visitor won't be first one to try out the product, or he won't be investing his time on something that is unproven. Because if Starbucks opens a new store here, you'll probably going to just buy it because you know Starbucks is popular. But if some random coffee shop goes there, you'll probably think twice before going there and having coffee there. So people crave for social proof. They want to know who's using your software, who's using your product, who bought it, and whether this is something new or established. So social proof is really important, and if you are not making use of good social proof, you're wasting a lot of opportunity. Because I see some startups or websites or even established companies, they assume that the visitors will know our value proposition, visitors will get excited about us, but they won't. They don't have as much knowledge about you as you have. You might be talking to Google for selling your product, but your visitor doesn't know that, right? How do they know that you have such a good amount of customers and you have such a good amount of clients or customers or case studies? So it's your job, it's a job of designer to make sure that the social proof comes across. This is the last step in getting convinced, because the first step is visitor understanding what you are selling. The second step is making sure that product works, and the third step is making sure product is well established and people already use it. Your social proof is important. And I understand it's not possible to get social proof right at the start if you're just starting up. So what you can do if you don't have social proof right at the start when you're starting a website, a product or a startup, in my experience, giving the product or the service for free to influential people out there and getting their testimonial feedback is the first key step in getting social proof. So you can offer your product for free or service and just ask them whether I can put your company's logo or whether I can put your even a video or a testimonial, a picture or anything, code, anything would do, because the first job is to just tell the visitor that somebody else has already used it. It's not just the fresh thing. You're not going to be the first one taking the risk. And if that doesn't work, I think that should work, but even if that doesn't work, you can always cite industry research. You can make some theoretical model, run some simulations, you can do some, you can see the research in some parallel industry and just pitch on the ROI thing or some other metric. So if you are making a productivity software and you don't have any social proof, even having a quote like this, my product increases productivity by 50% and it's proved scientifically and I can cite research, that is going to be a good social proof in itself. So either get testimonials or quotes for free or use scientific research if you're just starting out. But nothing beats having customer logos on the site. If you have Fortune 500 class customers, nothing beats that. But there are other ways of having social proof, like having case studies, having reviews and ratings, testimonials, and if nothing else works, just have some statistics, like 1 million visitors, blah blah blah, and keep it real-time updating so it feels good. This is again one bad example of not having social proof. This is a Twitter software client. This is bad in a lot of respects, but I've chosen it just because it is bad in social proof. You come on the site, for example, if you're researching for a new Twitter client and this comes on top for Google search, you come on it, you are probably not going to spend a lot of time. First, because it has a lot of text, not enough visual. Second, you don't know if other people have already used it. And this is more important if you are searching for a business Twitter client or an enterprise Twitter client, because for enterprises, social proof is really important. But take an example for a competitor of 12. This is a software called Hootsuite, and you can see again they have got all the right elements of having a good headline, social media dashboard, having only single call to action, and then having lots of good logos as testimonials, as social proof. So you know Facebook uses them, you know Fox uses them, Los Angeles. So if you're researching for a new enterprise Twitter client, you are at least going to give it a try. You are going to invest 30 minutes, because if Facebook uses it, probably this is really good stuff. And this is the second last point I have, and that is quite obvious. Design really matters. People associate good design with higher trust. So the best investment in your business that you can have is having good design. I'm really disappointed by the bad design that I see on the internet. People just hack around stuff, they'll put it and they won't invest a lot of things. People usually concentrate more on the back end but not on the design part. But visitors or the people who are coming on the site, they see design first. They don't know if your backend is ASP or if you're using Node.js, Redis, or all the cool stuff in the backend. If your front end is really bad looking, they are not going to impress. Next slide. So why design matters? This is a really good example that I realized. So there are two phones right next to each other. The left one is iPhone, the right one is Microsoft Paint. You can easily see why there is a difference in number of units sold. That's frankly because of design. And this speaks in itself why design is important. This is a real case study from one of our customers of Visual Website Optimizer. What he did was he redesigned his sales page from the left to the new design, and he instantly increased his sales by 20%. So you can imagine if he was making $1 million, now he was making $1.2 million, and this is really important. He did not introduce any new product, he did not introduce any new offer, he did not introduce any new guarantees, money back. All he did was to transform design from left to right, and it instantly increased his sales by 20%. So that's how important design is. And this is my last tip. I would say you should ignore all my previous tips that I've talked about. And that's because you should A/B test everything. I don't have all the answers. A/B testing is the only real answer. All my examples have got counter examples on the internet, so people have made a lot of money by having lots of text on the site. people have made a lot of money by having multiple calls to action. So all my previous tips, they go for a toss. If something works for you, it works for you. And the only way to see if what I have talked about in previous tips is to actually A/B test them. Probably people would know what A/B testing is about, but people who don't know what A/B testing is, it's essentially very simple. What you do is that you create two versions of a website. There's a version A, version B. So you may change, version A is typically your original page. So if you have a landing page, in version B you may try changing the headline, or you may try reducing the call to action, or you may try doing whatever I have talked previously in this presentation. So you will test all your ideas version B. What split testing does is that if 100 people come on your site, 50 will see version A, 50 will see version B. And at the end you will see what was the conversion rate or sales generated for different versions. So if version A generated 50 sign-ups and version B generated 75 sign-ups, you will know that version B is working really well. So your version B will become permanent, and then you will keep tweaking the version B, and so on and so forth. Moving forward, your design will get better and better with every single change you do. So why A/B testing?
Really interesting presentations. How we know how to attract millions of customers, and then Balaji told us how to be good.
How do you train yourself to do design?
Alright. So first up, it really depends on whether you need a specialist designer for UX. You could have a regular designer doing UX. You could be a product manager. You could be the CEO of the company who's doing UX. So UX is not really restricted to a professional designer. The user experience that is there on the website is everybody's role. Even the developers, even the programmers, the guy who does the JavaScript also needs to understand user experience. So it's not really unless you really need unless you're into the area of user experience. You don't really, a regular startup would not be the specialist user experience designer. Everybody there plays the role basically, right from the CEO to everybody else.
By a nice looking template right at the start. The first objective of a startup is to get customers. And once you can afford, you can always go back to hiring a full-time designer. But till then, maybe a nice looking template right from the web would do. Just
to add on to it, again, you've got to separate user experience design from, for things like that, you can have a specialist designer, but experience itself, user experience itself, you really look together.
I think experience is more about the flow and the different stuff rather than visual appeal.
Yeah, it's more than just visual.
Nice looking things, but rather the right things.
Arun, you talked about one of the slides where you had replaced the normal mouse pointer with the hypertext, which is the windowless. You talked about the improvement in conversions in terms of people navigating to the next slide and being able to better relate to what's really on offer and how they can move on to the next sequence of the presentation. So, what do you think is an assessment of conversion rate, and especially for you, Paras, changes which are as small as these, changing just an icon, what could be the impact, and if you were to judge in case of SlideShare, what could have been the percentage improvement in terms of conversions? What would you say about that?
So at least in terms of SlideShare, that particular situation, we measure everything. Every click is measured on SlideShare, time on site, how many people navigate to, what part of the presentation, how many slides ahead have they navigated. All these things are measured, and we also look into data. We probably don't analyze all of this data, but whenever required, we do analyze that. So in this particular case, what we did look at was engagement, time on site basically, and how many slides have people navigated, and also that layer which you see, below that there is a navigation control, a button that lets you go to the next slide, like a button with a pointer. So a lot of people were using that button, and this is a little less discoverable than that button because that is in your face. So we also measured how many people went to using the presentation, the new pointer we designed versus the existing button itself. So that was the conversion. That's what we measured.
we have mastered most of it, but my experience every little detail matters. And setting up an AV or